Hey, so I'm here in Auckland, New Zealand for the Rugby World Cup 2011, and it is awesome. So far we've done a lot of stuff. You've seen this new, we got to go watch the Australian Wallabies practice, which is kind of fun. Gotta love me some James O'Connor. But now I'm currently walking by myself to downtown Auckland from my hotel, which takes about 40 minutes. But this is a gorgeous city, and I just wanted to, I don't know, do a walking update and just kind of show you guys what I've been seeing. This is Auckland Girls Grammar School, and on my way back I'll show you guys the West End Park. But out there in the distance, that's the bay. You can see it, and like the wharf where all the ferries and stuff are. And then as I come up to the top of this hill, you're going to be able to see downtown Auckland. There's the Sky Tower, which is the tallest building in New Zealand. And there's just more of the bay. You see, it's very industrial, but it's extremely pretty. Since I've been here, I've realized that New Zealand is a much prettier country, or at least Auckland is a much prettier city than Sydney is. There's bays and green space and all kinds of different natural wonders just within the city that make it so spectacular. And then over here, you can see that's Auckland CBD. Where I'm headed right now. I'm going to head down there and check out the Rugby World Cup exhibition, and I'll show you guys some of that later. Hey guys, what you just saw was my little walking update of Auckland, New Zealand. I spent the last week there in anticipation for the opening game of the Rugby World Cup. It was our spring break here at UNSW, which seems kind of funny because a lot of my friends back home just started. But it was a lot of fun. First things first, Auckland is amazing. It's probably one of my favorite foreign cities. It tops most of the cities I've been to in Italy, as well as Copenhagen, Sweden, just everywhere I've been outside of the United States. This is definitely one of the top two places that I think that I've ever been to. Auckland is very green and natural, and the city is surrounded by mountains and volcanoes, which is really, really, really cool. And there's just harbors and bays everywhere, and there's parks, and they have so much green space, and it's really, really cool. But the feel of the city reminds me a lot of Indianapolis back home, where I go to school. It's, instead of being a big city like Sydney is, it's a city with a small town feel. Sydney is a lot like Chicago, where it's a big city. It's got things that aren't that different from every other city. There's a few things that make it special. In Sydney's case, the Harbour Bridge, the Opera House, things like that. But it's just a city. As where Auckland is a city that feels like a small town. It's much more, it feels more like a community, which is really, really cool, because that's a lot how Indianapolis is. So I thought that was a lot of fun. And I really like that aspect of it. Now, we spent 5 days there. I'll go quickly through my trip because there was just so much that happened. First of all, we got there on Monday. We got there a little in the afternoon. It was really interesting because we were greeted by 5,000 Tonga fans waving red flags and dressed up like crazy people for the Rugby World Cup. Their team was getting in about 15 minutes after our plane landed, so that was quite a welcome to come into. It was a lot of fun. Now let me say one thing. Polynesian sports fans are loud and crazy. They just get so much more into it than any other kind of person that I've ever met. And they get really, really intense about their team, but they're also a lot of fun. I made a joke to one of the Tonga fans at the match, and we kind of looked like we were about to get into a fight, and then we just kind of laughed it off because he was that kind of guy. Like, it was very, very interesting where he can be so intense about something but still can be so warm and heartfelt and just hearty about stuff that I thought was really cool. Well, so Monday, we got there, and then we went to our hotel, which was in Graylin, which is it's a suburb outside of Auckland, and it takes you about 40-ish minutes to walk into the CBD, the Central Business District, or like downtown Auckland. It's only 15 minutes from the zoo. It's only 15 minutes from Eden Park Stadium, which is where the opening match for the World Cup was. And it's only about 10 minutes from Ponsonby, which is this big shopping bar district in Auckland. And it's got a lot of really good restaurants and bars and shops and clubs and stuff like that. It for anybody that's been to Indianapolis, it reminds me a lot of Broad Ripple Village. And so that was really cool. So that first day, we just kind of wandered around. I got us a little lost, but sometimes, hey, that's what life's all about, is getting yourself lost and just going exploring. And I love doing that, so I had no problem with that. The second day, we decided to walk to the zoo, which is only 15 minutes or so from where we were staying. And there's a place called Western End Park that we had to walk through. That's a really gorgeous park with a huge lake, lots of forests and trees, and a big football stadium, rugby stadium, where they could have sporting events. And that was really cool. We went to the zoo. It's a nice zoo. It's something I definitely say that you should do there because it's cheap, which is nice. There are lots of really cool animals that you don't usually get to see, and being this time of year when it's not too hot, but it's not too cold, a lot of them are very active. Now, one of the cool things that the Auckland Zoo does is they only have one elephant. But their one elephant is kind of like a teenager age, and they let her walk around the zoo. Granted, she's escorted, but it was really cool because how many times do you go to a zoo and see the animals out walking around, especially a big Asian elephant? So that was really, really cool. Then on our way home, walking back, when we were walking by that stadium, we realized that Tonga, Samoa, and first of all, Australia were having open practices for the Rugby World Cup where you could come and watch and just kind of do things. And that was really, really cool. So we stayed around, watched, and it was kind of funny because, like I said earlier, the Australian national team was staying at a hotel not far from where I'm living right now. So we saw them all over the place. And then we get there and we see them there. So that was kind of funny. But it was really, really cool to get to see them practice a little bit and play before the World Cup. That night we decided to go out to Ponsonby. We had dinner at a really, really nice Asian place with really, really good food. And then we decided to go out to the bars that are there, being the drinking ages 18 there. It was a lot of fun. They have a lot of really nice bars. We had a lot of fun. The nice part about it is that the bars there are much cheaper than they are here. It also helps that instead of being $1 American dollar equals like 90 cents Australian, in New Zealand dollars, it's one American dollar is equal to about $1.15 New Zealand. So the exchange rate is, instead of being less than an Australian dollar, it's actually more than a New Zealand dollar. So things that are priced $6 are only worth about $5 in American, which is really nice. So things were cheaper, and that was good. So we had a lot of fun then. Then Wednesday, my travel partner had a little too much to drink the night before, so I let her rest, and I got up and walked into the city by myself. I went down, and that's where that video came from earlier, was me walking downtown and going to check out the Rugby World Cup exhibition. Now, the exhibition that they had going on was they had a lot of rugby stuff, but it was also the Polynesian exhibition. So there were these world leaders from all the Polynesian countries and all these southern Asia, like the oceanic countries. So New Zealand, Australia were represented. There was someone there from Hawaii, so America, Samoa, Tonga, Fiji, the Philippines, anything like that, were all there, which is really cool. And we also got to see a lot of their culture through some dances and stuff like that, which was really, really, really cool. What I'm going to show you now is a Maori, which is the native people of New Zealand, dance, followed by a hula dance that is similar to those what they do in Hawaii, but is actually from the people of Tonga. So here's that. See, that was the kind of stuff that we would see during this this Polynesian exhibition that I thought was really, really cool. To go along with the Rugby World Cup stuff, I also happened to wander into a training session for the wakas, which are the war boats, the Maori war boats. By the way, the word is not Maori, like I always thought it was, because I was always under the impression that the native people of New Zealand were called Maori people. It's actually pronounced Maori. It's very phonetic, like you would pronounce Hawaiian or Japanese. So that was something I learned. But we got to see these wakas where they were the people practicing how to like paddle and the ceremony that goes with paddling one of these giant warships, and that was so cool that I just happened to like stumble upon that. After that, I kind of wandered around. There's really nice parks, like I said, all across Auckland. And then I happened to wander into the Auckland Art Museum. Now, I'm not one for art. It's not really my thing. But I do really enjoy the IMA in Indianapolis, which is, if you ever go to the city of Indianapolis, you have to go to the Indianapolis Museum of Art. It's gorgeous and wonderful. Now, the Auckland Museum of Art is a lot like the IMA. And I think that might have been why I liked it so much, is it was compact, but there was a lot of really, really cool exhibits and a lot of very, very interesting pieces. So I thought it was really fun, and I ended up taking my travel partner, Julie, with me the next day. After that, I met Julie downtown after she had kind of recuperated, and then I have a friend who actually went to Butler for a year, who lives and is originally from Auckland. Now, his name is Dave, and he took Julie and I, as well as his friend Hugh, out to this dinner place where I got to have New Zealand lamb, which is supposed to be the best lamb in the world, and trust me, it is. It was delicious. But the concept of this restaurant was they bring out your food on a hot stone, and then you're allowed to kind of sear and cook it to your liking, whether you want it well done, rare, so on and so forth. Which is something I have never seen before, but I thought that was really cool. Then afterwards, he took us to this really, really good ice cream place where they have things that are kind of like Cold Stone Creamery-esque flavors. They had a a key lime pie one that was really good, and then they had chocolate and blue cheese, which my dad loves blue cheese. I'm not a fan, and I like chocolate, but this was just not to my liking. It was very, very awkward. But the weird thing about this was that we ran into the same exact Wallaby players that we see everywhere. Rocky Elsom, Radiki Samo, these big guys that I can't get away from the Wallabies. It's kind of funny. But we had a really good time with Dave, and it was a lot of fun to actually spend time with him and hang out with him in his natural habitat and have him show me around, which I think definitely added to my overall experience in New Zealand, was the fact that I had a friend who was from there and knew what he was doing. Thursday, we went back into the city, and we looked a little bit more at kind of what was going on around the city, and we tried to do what they have, what's called the coast-to-coast walk, because in about 3 hours, you can get from one coast of New Zealand all the way to the other coast, because where Auckland is the thinnest part of the Northern Island, and it's very interesting. We knew we weren't going to quite make it all the way across, and we just kind of wanted to do part of it. So we started down at the harbor and walked our way all the way up to Auckland University, which, by the way, is a gorgeous university. This really old-style architecture mixed with really modern architecture and really nice buildings, and the people just seemed very, very nice. I think it would be interesting to spend a semester there. Because I liked the city so much, and I thought the university was so pretty. But then we ended up at the Auckland Domain, which is a huge park, and that is where the Auckland Museum is. Now, Dave told us we had to go to the Auckland Museum because it's apparently really, really nice, and it only costs $5. So we thought, why not? We'll walk up to the museum, go to the museum, and then leave. I could have spent all day in this museum. I think it was by far, aside from the rugby stuff that I did, it was the best thing I did in Auckland. By far the best $5 I've spent since I've been here. I always go to other cities expecting to have their museums be similar to the Field in Chicago, which I think the Field Museum is a fantastic museum. And I really like the Smithsonian in Washington too. But this place was on par with the Smithsonian. It was one of the best natural history museums I have ever been to. It was just fascinating because they had things from Maori tribal ships and houses to a thing about volcanoes to Japanese warplanes to colonial Auckland to a Holocaust memorial. They had everything, and everything was so well preserved and presented that it just made the experience so worth it. That night, this is Thursday night, went back, decided to go out to Ponsonby again, have a few more drinks. Did that again. Once again, had a ton of fun. And then Friday we walked into the city to do some last-minute rugby souvenir shopping, and then went and had Burger Fuel, which, according to my friend Dave, is the best burgers in Auckland. And mind you, they were huge, and they were pretty good. But after we had our burgers and came back to our hotel room, we drank a little bit more and then went to the Rugby World Cup. Now I'm going to keep this short because I have a whole video that I just posted all about the Rugby World Cup experience and how it was like, and just highlights. But what I'd like to say is, I've never been in a place that was so many different cultures coming together and just bonding. I've been to sporting events where you bond with all the people around you, and I love that about the bleachers at Wrigley Field. I love sitting in the shoe in Columbus at Ohio State games and getting that kind of camaraderie that you get from sports fans. But on the walk to the stadium from our hotel, I met an Englishman who, him and I immediately started up a conversation. And he was like, "Oh, I didn't realize Americans liked rugby." And I said, "Well, I'm rare." But I met him, and then we met some Kiwis, some New Zealanders, and then there were some Tongans, some Samoans, lots of Polynesian people. I ended up talking to some Irishmen, some Argentinians, some just people from all across the globe. We ended up sitting with Irish people on either side of us, and it was great because despite what's going on in the world, what kind of conflicts we have, you realize that sports can just bring the world together. That was the case with the World Cup for soccer last year in South Africa, where the whole world stops to watch. But rugby does the similar thing, just on a lesser scale. But when you get to truly experience the camaraderie that people from all these different countries can have and bond over one thing, it's just awesome, because you don't get that anywhere else. So that was something I really got to bring away from the World Cup. And their slogan is "The World in Union." And that's really how it felt. You had people representing the entire world and every continent there together enjoying the game. And it was just awesome. Friday, we woke up, checked out. Dave picked us up, took us to a really nice restaurant in Ponsonby for breakfast. And then we went and spent time with his sister and her husband and watched Dave play soccer, because he plays in a club soccer league. So we got to do that, and that was a lot of fun, just to kind of, relax before we got on the airplane and did all that kind of stuff. And it was a lot of fun to just spend more time with my friend. So that was a lot of fun. Overall, it was a great experience. Probably the best week I've had since I've been here. If you are ever wondering, you should definitely go to New Zealand if you get the chance. I did not get a chance to go to the South Island or Wellington or anywhere outside of Auckland because we were there such a short time, but I would be more than willing to go back and visit any time. It's just such a great city. I had a lot of fun, and it's something that I would highly recommend to everyone. So that's really all I have to say. I hope you guys have fun, and I'll keep you posted. I should have another one up in about 2 weeks, and I hope that I can survive this massive crunch of assignments and grades and just making sure that I get my schoolwork done first, because sadly that is kind of what I'm here for. See ya.